The front door opened slowly. It was very creaky and hadn't been used for years. The young woman hesitated at the threshold, her eyes wide with wonder and a bit of fear. Was she really doing this? Would he be happy to see her after all this time? She didn't know, but despite her apprehension, she went inside. It had been 18 long years since she had last stepped foot in this house. And now here she was returning, not as the carefree child she once was, but as a grown woman with her own life experiences, successes and failures under her belt. Who was she to him now? And what would his reaction be when he learned who she really was? Well, she was about to find out. She walked further into the house, taking it all in. This place still brought back so many memories for her. Her parents had moved away shortly after she turned 10. They had sold their home and moved across country, leaving behind all of their old friends and family. And she had never forgotten that babysitter who had looked after her on countless occasions growing up. She had been just a teenager herself when she'd left this job all those years ago. But sometimes on long, lonely nights when she missed her parents terribly, she would think back to the good times she'd spent here, and how much fun she'd had with her brother and the other neighborhood kids. And then there was the babysitter, who had always been so kind and patient with them. She remembered her gentle smile and the way she used to tell them bedtime stories that made their imaginations run wild. And now she was back. But why? What had brought her back after all this time? Well, as it turns out, her brother had mentioned the old house to her out of the blue one day, and that got her thinking. She hadn't seen him in years, and she wondered what had become of him. A few weeks later, while rummaging through some old photo albums, she came across a picture of the whole gang, the neighborhood kids and their beloved babysitter. Seeing their smiling faces brought back so many wonderful memories for her. But it also sparked an idea. Why not get in touch with her old babysitter and see how she was doing? She thought it would be nice to catch up and reminisce about the good old days. But she had no idea that her surprise visit would cause such a stir. The old house was just as she remembered it, filled with so many happy memories. It made her feel nostalgic and warm inside. As she walked through the rooms, she couldn't help but smile. She could almost hear the echoes of their laughter bouncing off the walls. Suddenly, she heard a noise from upstairs, and her heart skipped a beat. Could someone really be living here all this time? Who could it be? Her curiosity piqued. She decided to investigate. She slowly climbed the stairs, each step creaking ominously under her weight. The air grew colder as she ascended, sending shivers down her spine. As she reached the top of the stairs, she heard the sound again, footsteps. But before she could react, the door at the end of the hallway opened. A man stood in the doorway, his face etched with surprise. His eyes widened as he took in her appearance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he cautiously approached her, a questioning look on his face. "Can I help you?" he asked tentatively. She stared back at him, her mind racing. She knew this voice. It was the same voice she had heard so many years ago. But how? What was he doing here? And more importantly, who was he? He looked at her for a moment, trying to place her, trying to remember where he had seen her before. But she couldn't wait any longer. "Do you know where Sarah lives?" she asked, hoping that he would understand. He frowned slightly, trying to concentrate, and then his eyes suddenly widened. "Sarah," he whispered, as if the name had unlocked a long-forgotten memory. "You mean our babysitter?" She nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "That's right," she said. "I'm looking for her. Do you know how I can reach her?" He looked at her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Why are you looking for her?" he asked finally. She hesitated slightly before answering. "Oh, you know, just to catch up, to see how she's been." He nodded slowly, still looking at her intently. "Well," he said finally, "she lives next door. I'm sure she'd be happy to see you." He paused, then added, "If you're not here to hurt her." His words caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" she asked, confused. He shook his head slowly. "Never mind," he said softly. "Come with me." He turned and walked down the hallway, and she followed him, wondering what he was up to. When they reached the end of the hall, he knocked on the door, and after a moment, it swung open. And there she was, the babysitter. She looked just as surprised as her brother had been when he first saw her. But unlike him, she didn't seem to recognize her immediately. "Sarah," the man said gently, "this is someone you used to babysit." She wanted to say hello. Sarah's eyes widened in recognition. "Oh wow," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "I can't believe it's you. You've grown up so much." She looked at her for a moment, taking in her appearance, trying to reconcile the young girl she remembered with the beautiful woman standing in front of her. "It's been so long," she said softly. "How are you?" They chatted for a while, catching up on each other's lives, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as she listened to her stories. She had always known that her babysitter was a bright, intelligent young woman, and it was clear that she was doing well for herself. As the conversation continued, though, Sarah began to notice something strange about the man who had brought her here. He seemed distant, almost detached. He was unparticipating in the conversation, and he kept glancing at her with a strange look on his face. She excused herself to the bathroom, leaving the two women alone. As soon as the door closed behind her, the babysitter turned to her with a worried look on her face. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You haven't said a word the entire time you've been here." He hesitated slightly before answering. "I'm fine," he said softly. I haven't seen you in a long time. I was just in shock." She nodded slowly, still looking at him intently. "Well," she said finally, "if you want to be alone, I won't bother you." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving him to his thoughts. He watched her go, his eyes filled with a strange mix of emotions. Who was this woman, and why was she here? As the days passed, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He had known this woman for a long time, and he was sure that she wasn't what she was pretending to be. He decided to confront her, to get to the bottom of this mystery once and for all. He found her in the kitchen, making coffee. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked. She turned around, a startled look on her face. "Sure," she said hesitantly. He took a deep breath and began. "I need you to be honest with me," he said. "Why are you really here?" Her eyes widened slightly, but she quickly recovered. "I told you, I just wanted to say hello, to catch up." He shook his head slowly. "No, that's not true," he said firmly. "I know you. You wouldn't have come here if you weren't hiding something." She hesitated slightly, then sighed. "All right," she said softly. "I lied to you." He nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "Then let's start at the beginning," he said. "Who are you really?" She closed her eyes, then looked back at him, a sad smile on her lips. "My name is Sarah," she said, "and I'm your sister."